What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we're taking a look at another film review. We have taken a look at Star Wars Visions 1, now we're taking a look at Star Wars Visions 2. And I really like Star Wars Visions. I think it is a really, really good and unique series. And yeah, there's been a problem with my film and show reviews and anime reviews recently, and I am working on fixing that. So we will be taking a look at Star Wars Visions Season 2 separately to Season 1, and we'll be taking a deep dive into every single episode. So I do apologize if this is a bit of a longer one, but each episode is its own story that I couldn't really fit into its own video. So they're all going to be here in this one. So the first one is one of my favorites. Lola, a former Sith, has built a new life, a serene life for herself, away from the dark side of the Force. But when a more powerful Sith shows up, she must fight her way for freedom. And this was really cool. This one reminded me of the Sony's sort of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and Spider-Verse and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mayhem. Just the brush strokes, the paint sort of design, the white backgrounds with a really nice orange, reds, blues, yellows, and greens floating around. The character designs were cool. There is the main hero here, Lola. She has a really cool droid. I really like her droid. It's very unique as well. It has an eye which can turn into a gun, and it's got like 3 legs. So the character design and the new characters in this one are really cool and unique and like not seen in Star Wars before. She has a robot arm, and you can really see when her Sith side shows up. It's all done with colors and shapes, and I like that. It's more of a show don't tell story. You can tell that she is battling her dark side, because every time she touches something in her white empty space of her house, wherever she lives in her ship, whatever she touches, it will start to merge and grow a black space or a black spot around it compared to the orange and purples it is. It also has its sketch lines still there, so it is definitely reminiscent of the 2099 world from Across the Spider-Verse. And it's just such a unique story. I wasn't too interested in the story, but the visuals for this one were like perfect. I really enjoyed the art style and the visuals of this one. The story was pretty basic. She runs away, the Sith comes and finds her, she kills the Sith, and then she moves to a different planet after working her struggle through, like, painting. Sort of how Miles does. Like, he is constantly doing graffiti, she's constantly painting her house. And I know I've made a lot of connections with Spider-Verse for this story, but that's really what it reminded me of, and I think it was a really good, strong contender for the first episode to really get you into Visions again. Moving on to episode 2, The Sorcerer's Reach. A young girl seeking relief from her days in a rural workshop discovers a legendary haunted cave with her friends. The cave's dark call will change the trajectory of her life forever. Now, I didn't read these little episode descriptions before I watched them. I just watched the whole series all in one go last night, so it's all fresh in my head. I know what I'm going to say. And this one has a very basic art style. I'm not saying it's bad. It just reminds me of Kim Possible. I don't know why. It just reminds me of Kim Possible, especially with one of the character designs in the back. And this one had the biggest plot twist going for it. I thought the story and the art style for this one was pretty boring and basic, and it didn't really interest me. The characters wasn't interesting. You had your normal band of characters, the girl, the muscle, the goofy one, and the animal. And it really shocked me when she stayed in the cave and all of her friends got out. The abandonment and the fact that she killed someone and then the Sith came down and took her and she left her friends. The emotion. I was really bored during this one, and I thought it was a really weak episode too. And it just, the shock factor. The shock factor is what got me the most with the end of that one. Like, it had such a big plot twist, and that's all I really have to say for that one. So moving on to number 3, In the Stars. 2 sisters who are the last of their kind fight for survival when Imperial forces discover them. This one I really liked. This one was made by Lycra, the people that made Keep on the Two Strings, Coraline, and Paranorman. And you can really tell that, and I really like the character designs here, and it really it takes on real-world issues of climate change and pollution and everything like that, I really like the visuals in this one. The story was pretty good as well. Like, it had good action, good characters. I saw this one promoted a lot, and I didn't think I'd like it very much, but it's very reminiscent of Kubo and the Two Strings, and I like that. And to be fair, I'm going to put this as my second favorite on the list as of the ones we've seen right now. So this one is definitely second favorite as of the ones we've looked at. And I really liked the animation style. I liked the stop and start motion one, and these two characters here stand out a lot more than any other characters do in this series. But moving on to I Am Your Mother. I thought this was a really weak one in the series. It's made by the people that make Wallace and Gromit. The very easy to spot art style, the claymation, animation, and a young pilot, Annie, embarrassed by her clingy mum, must team up with her on a wild, madcap academy race. This one is pretty weak. This one is boring. The characters wasn't that interesting. You didn't really get to know or really care about their characters. Like, I know it's like 15 to 20 minute episodes. That's what they're limited to. But I think these tried to set up too much of a emotional story with it, and it just didn't really work out. And I do understand that pacing is sometimes a struggle with 20 minutes. You have a story, you want to tell it in 20 minutes, and sometimes it doesn't work out. And some of these episodes don't have the best pacing. Some of them really struggle with pacing, and all their animation styles are on point. All the animation styles are so unique, but this one coming straight after the last one, it felt more or less the same, with it being still stop motion, just by a different company. So if they put it like 2 episodes after, just to spread it out a little bit, I feel like it would have felt more fresh and new. But this one is definitely the weakest one of the bunch. I really didn't like. The only thing I liked about this was the R2-D2 dog. The dog was the best part about this. There's not much else to say. I think it was a boring story and a pretty basic art style coming straight after the other one, which I think is a lot more impressive. But Journey to the Dark Head. A hopeful mechanic and a delusion Jedi team up for an unlikely quest to turn the tide of the war. This setup, so good. It started off and then it had a time skip to like normal. It set up the war really good at the start, time skipped to the mission, and then continued it so well. Like, the animation here, like the anime style here, was really good. It made me really care for these characters. It set up a good mission, good like lore to it as well. They did really good with the pacing, character design. The storytelling in this was so good as well, because it set up both of the characters' conflict, which got resolved towards the end. We have car chases, we have them flying through the air, we have them falling and fighting. All of my favorite tick boxes in like an action movie. It's just so good, and I like their character designs. It really got me into anime. Like, I love anime, but I've stopped watching it for a while now, and I just haven't been interested in anime. Sorry, I haven't had like the love for anime recently, and I haven't been interested in watching it. But this got like my anime straight back. This is very anime like heavy like stuff in here, like good anime fights, good story. The Journey to the Dark Head is the best one out of Star Wars Visions 2. It is by far my favorite, the best one. Got me so invested in the story. I did not look away. I barely blinked during this one, and my mouth was open gawking just because of how good it looked and how good the story was. The pacing was excellent. Animation was excellent. Voice acting was a little off in this one. I will give it that. I don't know, some about the voice actors for this one didn't seem right, but it didn't take away from the story. You got used to it like pretty quickly, but it is my favorite one. Definitely my favorite one. I really liked it. The conflict, then the plot twist at the end as well. Really reminiscent of episode 2, where they also had that plot twist. There's a lot of plot twists in this season of Visions, and I like it. And it gave both the main characters backstories, and it pushed them forward. It made you care about these characters only in like 20-minute like episode, like a normal anime episode. So I think they had that on their side. Normally, like, the people that make Coraline and the people that make Wallace and Gromit are usually making like an hour to an hour and a half long stories. So condensing that into 20 minutes must have been hard for them. And I think they struggled to get that right a little bit compared to this one. The spy dancer, the premier dancer at the Imperial frequented cabinet, is tested with when her identity is compromised. Sorry, I said that all wrong. I really twisted my words there, and I would like to apologize. But this one I thought was a pretty weak one. Animation style was again unique, and every single one of these animation styles is unique, and obviously it's made by a different company, but it just depends on the placement, because if you put two of the anime ones back to back, it sort of gets a little boring, but if you sort of separate them up a little bit, again, it gives like a fresh feel and a fresh vibe to it as soon as it starts. But the story was pretty weak on this one. It did have a pretty good twist at the end, but you did see it coming. Like, you saw it coming pretty quickly, and you worked it out. Or I did anyway. I worked it out pretty quickly. I didn't really feel for any of the characters here. I just think this one had good visuals with the dancing, but I don't think they did a good job. I don't like the redesign of the Stormtroopers in this one. I'm sorry. This one is a pretty low one on the list. Moving into the sevens of the Bandits of Golak. Pursued by the Empire, a boy and his Force-sensitive younger sister seek refuge in a vibrant Dayama. I liked this one. I thought it was really cool. They were on a train. It had pretty decent action. It started well, but then it started to lose it by the end. I thought the train scene was good, where it caused tension. A lot of tension was built, and it did sort of build sadness. They just left their father to go on their own quest on like this train to get away, to get to safety. And then he's trying to play a game with his sister, where they'd be like bandits, and he's off to go steal some candy for her. And then she uses the Force. They get separated on the train because he's obviously going to get candy. He then breaks out the train, gets on the roof, and then manages to get back in because her sister opens the thing. Then someone comes and attacks the place they've gone to for refuge. And it's just, after that point, it got pretty boring. And it sets up a new Jedi and a new Jedi Council, because this old lady here, she took in the little one and sort of left her brother alone at the top in a pretty bloodthirsty battlefield that just went off. I don't think it was right to leave the brother there, but it's the way of the Jedi. The Pit is another one of my favorites. It was very reminiscent of like the movie Holes and the book Holes, but a brave young prisoner forced by the Empire to dig the earth and extract kyber crystals plans a risky escape for himself to, rescue his fellow people in the hole. But the Empire, for this plotline of this one, the Empire bring a load of prisoners to dig for kyber crystals. They reach the bottom of the pit, but as they were digging, the Empire was building a city pretty close by, powered by kyber crystals. And once they reached the bottom and got all the kyber crystals deposit, they just abandoned them in the hole. One good climber managed to get out. He asked for help, and then he was tossed back in the pit and killed. And then, they just started chanting "Follow the light," and the people came and stood up to the Empire. It was a really good power story, and I really did enjoy it. The visuals were good. Again, it was like another anime, Young Justice style animation, and I liked the story. I liked the pit idea. They were stuck there, and only one of them could get out, and he had to go get help. But then when he failed, it had your emotions going, and you felt really bad for them because they were stuck in this hole for a while. And they were digging. They were treated as prisoners, slaves, and everything like that. And they wasn't treated very nicely. And it was just such a good story of uplifting yourself, following the light. Even in the dark, there is always light. The basic Star Wars premise. But an alien child eager to sing is brought up by a loving, strict father who forces her to keep her mouth shut and not interact with the kyber crystals. I really liked the art style of this one, and I liked the new sort of lion-type characters. I liked the sort of fuzzy design there that they all had. This one didn't really get the feels going. This one was the last one in the series, and I think it ended on a pretty weak one. I wasn't too interested in the story. No emotions going. I just liked the lions, the character design and the animation was the best thing about this episode. And I think with most of the episodes here, it was the visuals and the new characters and the new aliens that was what carried it. I think the stories are pretty weak for the most part, except the first one and the two-headed statue one. But she said when she sings, it can make the kyber crystals like refined, but if she stops singing, they explode. Pretty much. I just thought it was a pretty weak story. Not much happened. There was a cool action sequence where they were running out of a cave when it was all exploding. That's the bit that caught my attention the most. But at this point, after watching the whole series in one sitting, which isn't what you're supposed to do, but most people binge shows now, like binge it, so they should have really prepared for this sort of binging it all in one go is majority of the time really good. But in this case, when it's like such a different story every time, it can get overwhelming and pretty draining. And that's what happened to me. By I got to the end one, I was zoning out. I wasn't really that interested or motivated to keep going. It was literally the video, like this video here, that was like motivating me to finish it all in one go and just finish it so that I could get this video out for you guys. But the last one was a struggle. It was a struggle. I struggled to get through it. I was quite bored, and I just wanted to go to sleep at that point. It was only 10:30, so that's when you know I'm getting old, when I'm tired by 10:30. But geez, overall, I think it was a really good series. Some of the episodes were better than others, as expected, but I really like this idea, and I hope they do it for more of their like popular IPs, just to like sort of add some creativity, let some other people have a shot, and plus it brings them money, and I think it's a really cool idea. So I would like to see more of it. It is a good thing, and it should be celebrated more with other people being allowed to be creative, do what they want with the franchise without it affecting the continuity or the lore or the what is it called? The story. I forgot. But other than that, I'm giving Star Wars Visions a solid 8 out of 10. It wasn't that bad. Everything I said was mostly positives. It does get a few knockdowns for story and some of the art styles and the positioning of the episodes, but I'm still happy with a solid 8.